Hello again, everyone. Deflect here, Firm but Fair Gaming. Wanted to bring a new video as it is now out and people have been using it, and that's the new one button assist. I haven't used the other one that replaces Killy, I think, where it lights up the buttons on your bar that it wants you to use. I haven't used that one, so I don't know how accurate it is, but I've done some testing. I've also seen some other videos where people are discussing the one button. And it, as a renowned conclusion, is too good right now. It needs to be nerfed. The one button, there was some testing and some people doing logs. It's actually getting over 80% on heroic raid, which is insane. I think the top one I saw was 84% in the raid for parses. So you are now better than 84% of the people doing their rotation. I think in Mythic Plus, they've got as high as 80. And Mythic Plus is a little more caveat because you actually, if you haven't used the one button, you got to use it, but you use your cooldown. So it won't cast like Shadow Fiend, and you'll cast Void Eruption, and you'll cast PI on yourself. Like, those are the ones you got to cast. For Shadow Priest, for an example. But usually your 2-minute cooldowns, it won't use. You'll have to use those when you think it's the best. Most times you just full send when they come up, unless it's at the end of a pull, and you will do extremely well in the key. Tettles did a key. He was top DPS in the 17, I think, but an 18 as well. Like, when the one button is out DPSing people at, like, high keys, it is a problem. Like, that is, I get the usage of it, but it needs to be nerfed where it is a longer GCD cap, so it is not doing insane damage. I've tested this on a bunch of my classes. Like, I tested on Shadow Priest. I've done it on my Elemental Shaman. And there are, like, little variations. But overall, if you're hitting it when you just by using one button, you will out DPS most of the people in a lot of keys. Which it now has taken it from being a accessibility thing. So everyone was like, well, it's accessible for people, you know, who might have physical disabilities and might not be able to use the full, like, array. Like, there's a lot of buttons to hit, but that is what sets Warcraft above every other game. Every other game is, you know, a smaller version. You know, you have a lot less buttons, and this game requires a higher, usually, skill parity. And the nice thing is that when you master that, you do some great damage. But now they brought out a one button that you don't have to think about anything. You just send cooldowns when they're up, and then hit the one button, and it will do everything for you. And now you're doing 80 to 85% of the damage that the most optimal players are doing. And again, that's the most optimal. So before, like, I would have thought the one button, you'd probably start losing first place on the DPS around a 12 or a 13 key. Now, you know, again, people have done it 17s, 18s. They're getting first place DPS, which is just way too high. That means you can now get title by hitting one button. Where's the incentive to learn the class? Where's the incentive to find out what the buttons do? What procs what? There's now no incentive. It's mindless gameplay. You just hit one button and use, you know, your utility and your cooldowns. And again, you don't even have to think about your cooldowns. Just send them when they're on cool or when they're off cooldown and just go. And that's it. And you will do, again, very good damage because it is now optimized. And I think that is extremely terrible. There is no reason that one button should do the damage of someone who is now learned their spec and is basically learn their spec and is hitting all the correct buttons, or most of the correct buttons, because sometimes you have to move and you have to switch buttons and all that. But the majority of the time hitting the buttons. I think the most optimal spot for this one button rotation should be around the 50% mark of optimal button hit, not the 80% mark or above. 80% you will be way too high. Like, it's a button that has now drawn the game to be absolutely skillless. So you can just sit here, hit the one button. It's not, you know, it'll do Halo. It'll do, oh, there's Shadow Fiend for me. I'll want to hit PI, and I'll want to hit Void Eruption, and just back to the one button. And you can see I'm doing nothing but clicking button number 1. It's changing what buttons I should hit. And I just keep clicking it until, you know, I feel like I'm done. I'm doing 5.5 million DPS on 5 targets as a Shadow Priest, which is very good for a Shadow Priest. So, it is now, I don't know, the gap between this and the top players is not large enough. So there's no incentive anymore to learn your class. There's no incentive to get better. You just pick up a class, put on the one button, and then send everything on cooldown. I don't know, it's trivialized the game, I think, too much. And I think the only answer to that is to lower the GCD. So it will be not a 25% GCD reduction, but you need to hit more of a 50% GCD reduction. And it will still be good. That might be close to too high, but somewhere in around there, where you're doing, again, 50% of the damage of optimal buttons. And that way, it will still incentivize people to learn their class. And if you learn your class, you won't be out DPS by the one button. And I'm sure there's people out there who be like, well, I would never be out DPS by the one button. You say that, but you need to be an elite level player if they're out DPSing people in 18s. So that will come to very few players in the game that would now optimally beat the one button every time. So I think that's a big issue. Let me know in the comments what you guys are thinking on this. Have you used it? Have you tried it? Do you think it needs to be nerfed? I hope they do, because I hope this does not go Season 3 live. And I'm sure there's going to be people who get title this season, which is held for the 0.1% by now hitting one button. So that's my thoughts. I hope it gets changed. I hope it gets nerfed. Let me know if you're using it, if you've tried it, if you think it's good for the game or not, or if you think, you know, it's fine, people should be able to get titled by just hitting one button. Anyways, Deflect, Firm but Fair Gaming. See you in the next video.